Okay, what's going on, everybody? We're here, we're live. I want to thank you all for joining me today. If you can hear me clearly, please drop a one in the live chat, and then we can get today's stream started. And while I'm waiting for the ones to come on into the live chat, please, if you haven't already, please make sure you hit the like button. That is one of the most important things that you can do on my YouTube videos is hit the like button because that will assist in helping the notification go out to those who are subscribed to the channel. And it will also assist in helping the video permeate throughout the YouTube algorithm. That way, YouTube will send these videos out to those who are genuinely interested in hearing and listening to this kind of content. Also, if you haven't already, please make sure you hit the subscribe button if you're new to the channel. And lastly, make sure you share this video out on your social media platform so everyone knows that I'm live. And it also has the same effect within the YouTube algorithm. So I can see the ones are starting to come in now. Thank you, Hurricane IQ. So we can get today's stream started. So now, as you can see, as you saw the title of today's stream via the thumbnail, I deserve affirmative action, not Black Americans. And as you see the title of today's stream, Vivek Ramaswamy, Black Americans don't deserve affirmative action. As many of you know, recently he got caught up in a lie on MSNBC, right? He got caught up in a lie on MSNBC where it was exposed that it was exposed that Vivek Ramaswamy is actually a beneficiary. I believe that's the word I'm looking for, of affirmative action, right? But let's dial it back a little bit before we get into the actual clip of him being exposed. For the longest time now, I was trying to wrap my finger around Vivek Ramaswamy and just trying to figure the man out. And I believe at this point and at this stage of the game, I have, right? And that's this. Vivek Ramaswamy, for the most part, is simply a conservative Republican social experiment. This is the conservatives' attempt at gaining and having a rise to power of their own version of a Barack Obama, right? And the reason that that's necessary for them to do is this: they have to take in and consider the fact that the demographics of America is changing and changing drastically. We all know and we all have heard, right, that the projections are that by 2050 America will be a majority non-white country, a majority former minority country, or you can say, right, a majority brown country. That's what the projections are as far as demographics are concerned. With that being said, the Republican Party and conservatism as we know it today, it cannot carry on in its present state as this old white kind of good old boys club. The Democratic Party already made the shift, but conservatives are kind of just now getting around to it. And the thing is that when it comes to shedding the old view of conservatism and Republicans being a good old boys club of old white men, it doesn't really work with Black politicians the way it does on the Democratic Party side, mainly because on the conservative side of the fence, when you're talking about Republicans, they don't respect their Black politicians. They don't respect them at all. And how can you? How can you respect a people or a certain group of people who very openly and without shame will go up against their own people for their own personal financial benefit, right? Now we know that we have those type of Black politicians on the Democratic side of the fence, but on the conservative side of the fence, it's a bit different because they are very openly and hostile against other Black Americans, right? So there's no respect there. And also, when you take into consideration how deep and ingrained anti-Black racism is in this country, once again, the respect just doesn't exist for Black politicians on that side of the fence. Another issue as well concerning Black politicians is that even with them to a degree, they do hold some sense of Black pride, you can say. And we saw that manifest itself when Ron DeSantis in Florida, issued his little changes and whatnot to Black history curriculum, right? And people were upset and complaining and saying that he's altering Black history and altering slavery in a way that makes it appear as if slavery wasn't such a bad thing. And there were many Black Republicans, relatively prominent Black Republican politicians, who had something to say about it. And when they said something about it, because they weren't very pleased, they were getting slapped down on social media like crazy. Even Tim Scott, who barely said a word about it when he was asked about it, he actually gave Ron DeSantis a pass and stating that, maybe we're overreacting and this isn't what we think it is. And even to the degree that he may have said that slavery wasn't a bad thing, well, we all have our bad days. That's what Tim Scott said. We all have our bad days. So let's take it easy on the guy. The sheer fact that he didn't wholeheartedly just embrace the fact that we don't care about slavery and we're going to remix it to our liking. The fact that he wouldn't embrace it wholeheartedly and had the audacity to somewhat, just a little bit, disagree with that position and say that he was wrong a little bit, made everyone on that side of the fence turn their back on him. Now, the thing with Vivek is that he doesn't have those kind of hangups. And that's why he's the perfect answer to the changing demographics problem for the Republican Party. He's the perfect answer. And the thing with Vivek as well is that he can also parrot all of the talking points that come out of the mouths of conservative Republicans without having to wear the stain of being a bigoted, racist, white supremacist. Those words don't stick the same on Vivek the way it sticks on a Mitch McConnell. It just doesn't, right? And when you have a party moving forward full of Vivek Ramaswamys, then you can forget about it. Racism, white supremacy, where? You sound completely crazy, right? When they run it back next election, 2028, right? And on the debate stage, you see Vivek Ramaswamy once again. You see Tim Scott once again. And I'm sure they'll have somebody else. They'll probably have a conservative AAPI individual, right? And they'll have probably a white Hispanic. When they're speaking all those conservative talking points that are anti-Black, you say, oh, this is racism, white supremacy, you're going to look crazy because everyone's going to look on that stage and say, white supremacy where? None of them are white, right? But now, when it comes to Vivek, here's what's even more interesting. With all that being said, his entire campaign is predicated on him constantly taking jabs at Black Americans, because that's how you have to get into the good graces of the conservative Mzungu. It's by sticking it to the Blacks for as much as you can. Constantly make sure you stick it to them, Vivek. Say all the things that we want to say but can't say because those words of racism, white supremacy doesn't stick to you the same way that it sticks to us. So make sure you stick it to the Blacks whenever you can. And that's literally been the premises that his campaign has been running on from the moment he started running, right? Now, I want you to watch this clip here if you haven't already. Watch this clip where he's going to be asked a question about Juneteenth. And I'm not going to say much, but I'll only say this before we get into this clip. It sounds like he's at a job interview. Tell me if it sounds like he's at a job interview when I play this clip right here, and then we'll get back into the discussion.
Plan. You said you wanted to have a holiday. You said maybe cancel Juneteenth or one of the other useless holidays. Do you think Juneteenth is a useless holiday?
I basically do. Yeah.
Do you think Memorial Day, Veterans Day are useless holidays?
I don't, because I stand with the presumption of time-tested traditions.
You see how the Mzungu was asking him the question about Juneteenth, and he was saying, Juneteenth is basically a useless holiday. Do you think it's a useless holiday? Oh yeah, well, yes, I do. What about Memorial Day and Labor Day? Or Memorial Day? How do you feel about Memorial Day? Do you think Memorial Day is a useless holiday? Oh well, no, of course not. I don't think it's a useless holiday at all. He sounds like he's applying for a job. Every time this man opens his mouth, he's speaking out against Black folks as if he's trying to gain the trust and respect of the Mzungu. And obviously we can say he's not trying. That's exactly what he's doing, right? Because he even makes it a point to go out of his way to insinuate that Black people are just as racist as white people. We've all heard the Mzungu time and time again try desperately to make this claim, right? The claim that, hey, Blacks are racist too. The Blacks are just as bad. They always try that. They always try to pull that card. But Vivek also does it as well. And I want to play a quick clip of that as also.
Mm-hmm. I probably have experienced more racism from Black people than I have from white people in my life. I think it might make some people upset to hear that, but it's my experience, right? And I'm speaking the truth.
I'm going to play that one more time because I know the volume was a little bit low, but he was saying that I've experienced more racism in my life from Black people than I've experienced from anybody else. Those were the words that came out of Vivek's mouth.
It's come from Black people. Mm-hmm. I probably have experienced more racism from Black people than I have from white people in my life. I think it might make some people upset to hear that, but it's my experience, right? And I'm speaking the truth.
You see, he constantly makes it a point to try and play that card that we've seen the Mzungu play or attempt to play time and time again. Pulling out the card that, hey, the Blacks are just as racist. Black people can be racist too, right? Here goes some statements that he made not too long ago about the gentleman, I believe his name is Ibram X. Kendi. He referred to Ibram X. Kendi as a modern day Ku Klux Klan grand wizard, right? He went on to say the same thing about Ayanna Presley, if I remember correctly. Yeah, Ramaswamy doubles down on calling Presley part of modern KKK. So he does this often, where he's going down this road of trying to convince everyone that Black folks are just as racist as white people because he's experienced the most racism in his life from Black people. Also, Juneteenth is a nonsense holiday and we have to get rid of it. And we've also witnessed Vivek Ramaswamy attempt to erase literally 100 years of Black history. And this now goes back to the original point that I made earlier, where I was talking about how Vivek does not have the same hangups as Black Republican politicians do as it pertains to Black history and slavery, where even to a degree, even they had their limits regarding slavery, where they were a little upset. They were just a little bit upset with Ron DeSantis and what he's doing down there in Florida concerning the history of slavery. But before we get into that clip, I want to quickly thank Ace Thunder 234 for being the first person to contribute to today's stream. Thank you very much, Ace Thunder 234. Your contribution to today's stream is definitely appreciated and does not go unnoticed. Also, there are 251 of you in the live stream right now. So please hit the like button if you haven't already. Hit that like button. It's very important. And if you're new to the channel, please make sure you hit the subscribe button as well as the bell notification next to the subscribe button. Now, we're almost on our way to Vivek being exposed concerning affirmative action, right? But as we carry on with these video clips, I want to play this right now from CNN. Many of you are aware of this and you've seen this before. But look at his attempt at wiping out 100 years of Black American history.
Say what you said again.
Black people secured their freedoms after the Civil War. It is a historical fact, Don. Just study it. Only after their Second Amendment rights were secured.
They were not secured their freedoms after the Civil War. That is not, you are discounting Reconstruction. You're discounting a whole host of things that happened after the Civil War when it comes to African Americans, including the whole reason that the Civil Rights Movement happened is because black people did not secure their freedoms after the Civil War, and that things turned around. People tried to change the freedoms that were supposed to happen.
And you know how they got it?
He literally erased an entire period from 1865 to 1965 as if it didn't happen.
They got their Second Amendment rights, and they actually got the NRA played a big role in that. But today, down the
NRA did not play a big role.
Absolutely, they trained black Americans how to use firearms.
That's a lie. That's not. The NRA did not play a big role.
This is just historical fact.
It's not historical fact.
The part that I find,
because you say it's historical fact,
the part that I find insulting is when you say today black Americans don't have those rights after we have gone through civil rights revolution in this country.
You are sitting here telling an African American about the rights and what you find insulting about the way I live, the skin I live in every day.
Here's where you and I have a different point of view.
Black and white that black people don't have in this country, and that black people do have.
Well, here's where you and I have a different point of view. I think we should be able to express our views regardless of the color of our skin. We should have this debate
I'm not saying you
without me regarding you as a black man,
insulting that
but
you're
me regarding you
here,
as a fellow citizen.
That's
what I think we should see.
Whatever ethnicity you are, explaining to me
whatever ethnicity
about what it's like to be black.
Whatever ethnicity I am, I'll tell you what I am. I'm an Indian American. I'm proud of it. But I think we should have this debate. Black, white, doesn't matter.
I think we should have this
on
debate.
The content of the ideas.
Do it. You should do it in an honest way.
I can keep going with the clips, you know. I mean, because it's ridiculous and it's amazing how much this man is always auditioning. He stays in a state of auditioning. This next clip that I'm going to pull up here, this comes actually from Torian Rain Reloaded's channel. So shout out to Torian because he covered this. I don't know how long ago it was. Maybe about a month ago he covered this. But you're going to see here, Vivek is talking to a crowd of Mzungus, right? A large crowd of Mzungus, not a black person in sight. And he's talking about the nuclear family structure and single parent households and all the things. There's a million and one ways you can have that discussion. There's a lot of things that you can discuss and talk about and how you can speak on that issue. But as he's sitting in front of a sea of Mzungus, who does he decide to bring up? You guessed it.
Forget about the debate about pro-family policies. We have anti-family policies in this country, right? So we need to get that government out of the way. Let me teach you something about the 1960s. Okay, Lyndon Johnson launched the greatest misnomer in political history when he called it the Great Society. It was the Awful Society, is actually what he unleashed, where they actually paid families, and he was supposedly in the name of helping back black families. A black family, by the way, 70% of black kids in the 1960s, over 70% were born into two-parent households. Right. All right, today it's less than 30%. Why? Because you get what you pay for. So they paid them more to actually have a single-parent household. That mom could make more, saying, I'm married to Uncle Sam instead of married to you. Well, why the heck do I have you around? Well, I don't really blame them for making, we've induced people to make economic decisions. They make the decisions in part that they're incentivized to make. You get what you pay for. So I think the low-hanging fruit is get the government the heck out of the way with these anti-family policies, and then we restore the best-known governing institution to mankind. We conservatives, we do say, and I'm with you, I say that we don't trust the big government. When we say in God we trust, in the bottom of our coins, let me translate that for you. It means in government we distrust. That's what it means. But the best known governing institution to mankind, it's not just that we're against big government. We're in favor of that best known form of governance, the two-parent stable family household.
Now, I'm sure some of you can listen to this, especially if you're a Vivek fan, right? And you want to put the cape on for him. And you can sit there and listen to that and say, okay, yeah, he's talking to a bunch of white people, but it's true, though. What he's saying is true. That becomes irrelevant in the sight of the fact that every video that I've played from you thus far is his attempt at auditioning for the Mzungu, showing him that I am willing to jab at over and over and over again and stick it to the blacks to say all the things that you want to say, but you can't. So just because, as the saying goes, a broken clock is right twice a day, something of that nature, right? Because it was right this one time, that's irrelevant in the face of all of the jabs and sticking and moving that he does to black people constantly. The man is literally sitting in front of a sea of Mzungus and still finds a way and a reason to bring up black Americans. Now, what I want to do is I want to bring up the final video, right? I want to bring up the final video of Vivek getting exposed on MSNBC not too long ago, where it was exposed that this man received an affirmative action scholarship from George Soros. He received an affirmative action scholarship from George Soros. So this whole time, Mr. Affirmative Action was running around here talking about how affirmative action is a cancer to this country. It's a cancer to this nation. We have to get rid of it. Funny enough, he would never bring up the fact that white women were the number one beneficiaries of affirmative action. He would never bring that up. But now that affirmative action is gone, come to find out, Mr. Affirmative Action received affirmative action. So he wants affirmative action for him, but just not for you.
I challenge Democrats and Republicans alike, including the Biden family, to do it. And you know what? I released it so that you could look at them, so we can have an honest conversation.
And I appreciate that.
The funny thing I've learned,
I do appreciate that. It's something Trump should learn from you.
I think that transparency is important. So it's already open and everybody can see it.
Exactly. We have 2009.
But the fact of the matter is, you know what I would advise every 24-year-old should take
2009
$50,000.
And 2010, you made $750,000. You had the money to pay for law school. You didn't need a Soros affirmative action scholarship that you now criticize.
I mean, none of this is worthy, but if you think...
Did you see that MK Ultra glitch that just happened? Let me run that back one more time. Let me run that MK Ultra glitch one more time.
You didn't need a Soros affirmative action scholarship that you now criticize.
I mean, none of this is...
That man froze up. He didn't know what to say.
Worthy, but if you think it is, let's get to the detail. That was actually the first big piece of money.
You say you're anti-affirmative action. You took a scholarship for immigrants.
I'm anti-affirmative action.
So why'd you take a scholarship for the children of immigrants?
Which falsehood would you like me to address? The financial one or the one about my views on affirmative action? Because I can go in whichever order you'd like.
On
the financial piece of it, not at the time.
Look at how he keeps locking up.
You don't make $750,000.
On the financial piece of it, not at the time that I had applied for the scholarship that fall.
Yes, you did.
That December.
Yes, you did, Vivek. This is awkward for you because you did. I've got the tax returns in front of my face.
No, it's not awkward for you. Yes, on December 31st, when the application for the scholarship was that October. Mehdi, you're wasting your time on childish details in October of that year when I applied for that scholarship. And it was, well, guess what? The bonuses that a hedge fund pays, and it's a shame that, again, you don't have to be an expert on this, but if you're going to spout out, you better know something about it. People pay at a hedge fund the bonuses at the end of a year. And on December 31st, that's when I was paid. I applied for the scholarship that September, and I did not grow up in a wealthy family.
Vivek, you made more money the previous year.
I made $200,000 pre-tax or whatever it was.
No, you didn't.
And you know what?
Hold on. No, you didn't. You're now telling flat. In 2009,
you have my tax returns in front of you. I don't remember what I made in 2009.
In 2009, you made $650,000. In 2010, you made less, $450,000.
It's real hard to keep up with a lie when my man got the paperwork.
$50,000. So the argument that you only made the money pre the scholarship.
And mind you, he was making this kind of money in his early 20s, which is crazy. Let me run that back. I keep interrupting. My apologies.
And you made less, $450,000. In 2009, you made $650,000. In 2010, you made less, $450,000. So the argument that you only made the money pre the scholarship, oh, so now we're bringing tax into it. We've been using gross numbers.
Absolutely.
Vivek, you're wrong on this. Go back and check your tax returns.
$50,000 obviously makes a big difference.
And then you accepted a Soros scholarship for $50,000 when you didn't need it.
Well, you know what the fact is, Mehdi, is $50,000 did make a big difference to me back then. And anybody who has...
Those MK Ultra glitches are killing me. I got to see that one more time.
For $50,000 when you didn't need it.
Well, you know what the fact is, Mehdi, is $50,000 did make a big difference to me back then. And anybody who has a few $100,000 in the bank is going to take $50,000 without strings attached. Take the scholarship. But my question for you is, why on earth are you, as an intelligent person interested in politics, obsessing over a 24-year-old's $50,000 scholarship?
I'm interested in truth,
beneath
Vivek.
you.
We have a country to fix. That you wear. And I'm interested in truth.
And Mehdi, that's why I released 20 years. Mehdi, that is why I released 20 years of tax records. Tell your friends in the Biden administration to do the same thing. Tell your Democrat candidates to do the same thing.
We've gone over time.
We're breaking precedents, and I think it is pathetic. I just think it is sad and pathetic.
He was big mad, wasn't he? Big mad. There are 409 of you in the live stream right now. Please hit the like button if you haven't already. That is extremely important. Please hit that like button. And also, thank you very much, ICIP13, with the super chat. I appreciate it. All the contributions that come towards the show and this channel are deeply appreciated and does not go unnoticed. ICIP13 stated, "Hey, I finally get to catch TD. You look exactly like my little brother. Keep educating them." I deliberately didn't say your little brother's name because I'm bad with pronouncing names. I'll try it anyways. That I don't know. I'm not even going to do it. I can't read names. I don't know why that is. My apologies. Because I'm going to make myself sound really stupid when I mispronounce this name crazy. But I appreciate you, ICIP13. Thank you very much for the contribution to today's show. The second person to contribute to today's stream. So now, you know, as we round this all out and we see that... oh, it's Moise like noise. Okay, Moise like noise. Got it. Moise. Okay. You might be wrong because but you know, I guess we'll go with that, Moise. But let's really cap this off now, right? Because I think that this is actually the most important part of the video, and clearly it is because, like, you know, I saved it for the end, right? But after this came out, why wasn't anybody upset, right? As far as on his side of the aisle, when it comes to, you know, right-wing conservatives and whatnot, they hate George Soros. They rail against George Soros. George Soros, just like Klaus Schwab, is the devil, right? They don't like them. I mean, honestly, I don't like Klaus Schwab either. But, you know, they hate Klaus Schwab, and especially George Soros. He received an affirmative action scholarship from George Soros, right? And no one on that side batted an eye. Well, the reason no one batted an eye is this, and I think we all understand this, but I'm going to say it anyways. No one batted an eye because they don't care. They don't care as long as it's not Black Americans. And I'm going to prove that point right now with an article that I'm going to pull up. But I've seen this time and time again, and it is truly insane. If you want to know how much America despises Black Americans, just wait for Juneteenth to come around and look at how bent out of shape people get online. People are so bent out of shape and hate Juneteenth with such a deep passion. Oh, we don't need two Independence Day and Independence Day. We already have 4th of July. Why do we need Juneteenth competing with the 4th of July? You would think that people would just appreciate, you know, I'll just take the day off and chill and go relax. You know, maybe I'll sleep in. But no, they spend the day hating and mad. I remember one time watching Ben Shapiro, and he was speaking and commenting on, of all things, the Black Panther movie when it first came out. And I'm curious to how many of you saw this and this came across your radar years ago, right? So I'm watching Ben Shapiro, and he's speaking on the Black Panther movie. And he was so mad. He was mad at seeing Black people happy. You all remember when the Black Panther movie came out, everybody was acting a fool, you know, respectfully. You know, everybody was walking around and, you know, we was walking around all type of African garbs and, you know, all that type of stuff. And, you know, Black folks, they showed up for the Black Panther, and that's cool. That's what's up. There was no problem with that. You know, a movie like that, I definitely showed up. Now, I didn't have on like, kufis or anything like that. I didn't have on like African garments or anything, but I definitely showed up to go watch it, had to support it. But my point is that Ben Shapiro was ranting and raving and so upset at the fact that Black people were simply happy, just seeing them happy. He was screaming and yelling, talking about, oh, you think this is better than, what Martin Luther King did in the civil rights movement and yada, yada, yada. Does this replace what King did? He was losing his mind just because Black folks were happy, right? And now what I want to pull up for you in closing as well, once again, they don't care that people are getting affirmative action. They don't care if people from other groups are getting money, as long as it's not to you. That is the only thing that matters. Now, check this out very quickly. Let me pull this final article up for you. So let me switch over here, right? And as I'm doing that, I want to give a quick shout out and thank you to Journeys of Dryce B. I can't say names, but I appreciate you, brother. Thank you very much. Journey said, I've said this man is acting like what he thinks a white American conservative is like. 100%. And AWS 21st, thank you for the $3 super sticker. I appreciate that. And thank you very much. Now, in closing, let's get into this article here that I want to pull up that proves my point that no one cares about other groups of people getting special benefits, financial resources from the government, anything of that nature, as long as it's not going to you. Okay. And this last article that I'm pull up here, it comes from the New York Times. It was back in 2021 that this article came out, and it's titled C-19 Relief Fund was only for Black residents. Then came the lawsuits. Oregon earmarked $62 million to explicitly benefit Black individuals and business owners. Now, some of the money is in limbo after lawsuits alleging racial discrimination. Now, check this out, right? Let's get into this, right? Oh, let me read did I read that? Yeah. Oregon earmarked $62 million to explicitly benefit Black individuals and business owners. Now, some of the money is in limbo after lawsuits alleging racial discrimination, right? But now, millions of dollars in grants are on hold after one Mexican American and two white business owners sued the state, arguing that the fund for Black residents discriminated against them. The dispute in Oregon is the latest legal skirmish in the nation's decades-long battle over affirmative action and comes in a year in which the sickness, we'll call it, has starkly exposed socioeconomic and health disparities that African Americans face. In Oregon, the stakes are dire. Nearly $50 million worth of grants have been awarded, but the court has frozen $8.8 million, the remaining amount minus administrative costs, until litigation is resolved. The process could take years. Now, fortunately, the bulk of the money was already sent out before they were able to lock it up. But understand that money was locked up because a Mexican American and two white business owners locked that money up in litigation, putting a bogus lawsuit together saying that this fund is discriminating against everybody else, right? But check this out. There's more. Oregon's long history of anti-Black racism has fueled much of the advocacy for the state's fund. And while other racial groups have said they supported it, its critics have argued Black people are not the only ones who have faced discrimination in the state, right? Now, here's the icing on the cake. Remember, let me set the stage really quickly, okay? Or let me reset it. There was a $62 million fund specifically for Black folks. Two white business owners and a Mexican American shut it down because they said this is discriminatory against everybody else. But then check this out. Supporters of the fund argued that the $62 million accounted for about 4.5% of what the state received, leaving plenty for residents who are not Black. So it only accounted for 4.5%. They also noted that other C-19 related funds were tailored in a way that allowed them to almost exclusively benefit particular racial and ethnic groups. A $10 million fund created by the state that largely benefited undocumented Latino immigrants. I'm going to repeat that again. There was a $10 million fund created by the state that largely benefited undocumented Latino immigrants, and one created by Portland officials to aid a district of largely Asian-owned businesses. So no one had a problem when C-19 funds were going specifically and exclusively to undocumented Latino immigrants that the Black residents didn't have access to. No one had a problem when there were funds that were specifically going to the Asian district that is largely consisted of Asian-owned businesses that Black people in Oregon did not have access to. They didn't have access to that. But nobody had a problem with the Asian-owned businesses getting money that was specifically for them. But the moment money was set aside specifically and exclusively for Black Americans, the same way it was set aside for undocumented Latino immigrants, the same way it was set aside for Asian-owned businesses. And it only consisted of 4.5% of the overall funds that the state received. Now, all of a sudden, everybody has a problem. Now it's an issue. Now it's racist. Now everybody's mad, and now everybody's bent out of shape. Understand, that is the main reason why no one cared when Vivek Ramaswamy was outed. They didn't care, because as long as it's not you who's getting the money, they're fine with it. That's how deep-rooted anti-Black racism is in America. But if you let Jimmy Dore tell it, we can't talk about it because that would be identity politics. So with that being said, that does it for today's video. I want to thank Walter Wilborn for the super chat that you just gave me. I appreciate that. There are 520 of you in the live stream right now. Please hit that like button on your way out. And if you haven't already, please hit the subscribe button if you're new to the channel, and follow me on Telegram as well. The link is pinned in the live chat below. It is also in the description box below, and it will also be in the comment section pinned below. And a very, very final thank you to good brother Andrew Lewis. If you're listening, Andrew Lewis is one of the only people, very few people, who actually shows love to me on Venmo. For some reason, I never get my Venmo notifications, so I never get to thank Andrew Lewis. But Andrew Lewis, thank you very much. I appreciate you, brother, for always showing love on Venmo. And with all that being said, that does it for today's stream. I want to thank you all for joining me today. Hit the like button on your way out, and have a great afternoon. Peace.